What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the Fantasy Football Podcast for another week. I think we're on number 11. 3 weeks to go in the season. A lot of fun stuff going on. Want to make sure we have a lot to get to today. Ryan has some heartfelt words for a few of you guys that he needs to say, and we just want to talk about a lot of the fun things that happened this week in fantasy football. And before we really get into some of the things Ryan needs to say, we do need to talk about what I think was one of the greatest, most legendary, epic fantasy football games of all time.
It was amazing. I was sitting there on my phone, like, it's not even my game, and I was like checking it, like, is Julia gonna catch him? Is Julia gonna catch him? And I was just like,
going into the Monday night game last night, Julia, Haitian at heart, for instance, was down to Alex and Zach, Dynamos, by like 100,000 points, or 60, I think.
She was down by a lot.
I think 60 points or something. And she had Michael Vick going, also known as the greatest fantasy football player of all time.
Which is, I love him so much.
Yeah, which is cool because your team name is Vick's Boys.
Vick's Boys, and I don't even have Vick, but I'll go into that here in a little bit.
Yeah. So anyway, he goes in the game, scores 49 points last night. One of the most unbelievable fantasy football performances ever. She comes all the way back and ends up losing by 3 points.
Yeah, the funny thing is, like, no one really gave her much of a chance, obviously.
Right.
But the three players she had going, she had Vick, she had Macklin, and she had Washington's defense. She needed all of them to play pretty well, obviously, well, really well, in order to get there. Well, Vick obviously blows up. Macklin has a good enough game, you know,
yeah,
gets a
touchdown, long touchdown
that he had was great. And then all she needed was her defense just to not get her negative points.
Yeah, could have benched her defense.
Yeah, if she benched her defense, which, you know, she could have, you know, left the spot open or whatever, she would have ended up in a tie. And instead, she gets the -3, and she loses, what,
126 to 123. So she, of course, would have beat everybody else this week. I don't think I've ever seen a game where both teams scored in the 120s. And I love it because on the other side of things, Zach and Alex, they pulled what I like to call a Hoosiers. They started Clinton Portis last night, who wasn't even playing. So they actually started a team with one empty slot, which is a great reminder of this great video clip from the greatest movie of all time.
25.
Where are you going?
In the game.
Sit down.
What do you mean? You gotta have 5 out there.
Sit down. Sit.
Coach, need one more. My team's on the floor.
What are you trying to do?
So there it is, just like the great coach of the Hickory Hoosiers. They put their team out there with an empty running back spot, and they still managed to score 126 points, much like Jocelyn did actually too by starting Jacoby Ford. We had 2 people out there who both won with empty people on their team playing last week.
So that game was pretty incredible. And so, Julia, I'm sorry, you just can't catch a break.
Yeah, and that's a big one. That might have knocked you out of the playoffs. I mean, it would have been your 4th win. Now there's a whole bunch of people at 4 wins. And talk a little bit more about playoffs and how that's going right now. And also, it's time for a little bit of apologies from Ryan and a little bit of myself too, because last week he might have made some bold predictions, and I might have been the one who told you need to listen to him because he's got some good stuff to tell you.
Right. So let's start with the Brent Selleck one, because that was obviously completely stupid on my part. Vic doesn't like him, and so he never throws him the ball. For some reason last week, I'm like, you know what? Selleck's going to get the ball a lot. I predicted over 20 fantasy points. He didn't actually score a single fantasy point.
No. 2 catches for 8 yards.
8 yards. What makes it even worse is that I was so convinced that Selleck was going to be good that I went and traded for him.
Yeah, so at least you backed up your prediction. You went and got him.
So I apologize to everybody for saying that Selleck was going to be good, but at least I just hurt myself because I traded away my other tight end, picked him up, started him, and got a whole lot.
What you meant for you Modern Family fans out there is that he said Brent Selleck's going to score 20 points. Bloop, for the whole season combined. So yeah, big mistake there, but at least it only affected you.
Yeah, so that was, whatever. I don't really have to apologize too much for that. Now, talking to Jocelyn, last week we were talking about like 3 people she needed to drop, 3 people she needed to pick up. Right. I told her she needed to go get some different people, Washington, Morgan. They actually all had fine weeks.
Right.
Morgan had 6 points or something. He had 1 catch for 65 yards.
Washington had 8.
8.
Touchdown.
But then we were like, you know what? You need to go drop pretty much your entire receiving core.
Yep.
She went and dropped Deion Butler.
Who I said 3 or 4 times, never heard of him.
Yeah, never heard of him. And he goes out and has like 14 fantasy points
Yeah,
this week or
he
something?
caught like a
15?
70-yard touchdown pass or something.
And because of that, because she dropped him, she had to start somebody that wasn't even playing.
Yep.
So she would have had 14 more points if we wouldn't have said that. So Jocelyn, I apologize. I'm sorry. At least, and this I do have to say, at least all the predictions that I made, even though they went terribly wrong, would not have changed the outcome of any game. Jocelyn still won. The biggest apology I have to make is to Jenny. Starting Brett Favre was a bad call this week, especially with Mark Sanchez having a pretty decent game and Favre just.
As in 24 points for Sanchez, 5 points for Favre.
Favre was like,
So
I'm
what
old.
what he meant to say was you should start Brett Favre, bloop, circa 6 years ago.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't start in the rest of the year after the last couple things that he said. Doesn't sound like he cares too much.
And then, of course, I went out and said that Amy was going to win out all the rest of the year, 4 straight wins, and she promptly turned around and got blown out by 30 points. So basically, we're really on fire right now. But at least, as far as the playoff race is kind of going, I mean, there's some credibility here.
Yeah, I just wanted to say congratulations. There's 2 official stars out there right now. If you got a star or an asterisk next to your name, that means you're officially in the playoffs, and there are 2 people that have made it. Sam Askew has clinched a playoff spot.
That's right.
And as has Mike Lieberneck.
Yep. Congratulations.
Congratulations to you guys. It's a great
Sam.
feeling knowing that you could start whoever you want now, and it can't backfire only so much because you're going to be in the playoffs. In fact, if you want to go back to past history, you want to go on a 3 or 4 game losing streak going into the playoffs so you can drop positions.
Yeah,
Because
the
if
UW League has notoriously been won in the playoffs by a lower seed
Yeah,
team.
so you want to be 5, 6, 7, or 8. So you want to be in that area, you'll have a better chance of winning.
I basically just want to be on the opposite side of the bracket than Mike at this point because he's pretty much on fire. So if I'm 1 or 2, as long as I'm opposite of where he is, I think I'll be okay. So congratulations. Now, Jocelyn, it's interesting. How many has she won in a row now? She's won 4 straight. Ever since I said she wouldn't lose, she's won 4 in a row. She won this week despite the fact that she had Jacoby Ford in her starting lineup, and she made what I think was another awful trade of getting rid of LeGarrette Blunt, was a great pickup and scored another 15 or 16 points this week. And she said to me, you told her to get Nate Washington, and Julia got him. So then Julia proposed a trade to her, and then Jocelyn emailed me and was like, should I trade? What should I do? And I didn't have time to respond. Or next thing I knew, you'd traded him. Or else I definitely would have never I would have told you never to do that. But somehow, no matter what she's doing right now, Kyle Orton goes out and throws for like 400-something yards and 4 touchdowns. So she might actually make the playoffs.
She might make the playoffs.
She's got 4 straight wins, which is just unbelievable. The other one I want to mention, Ryan Newton, scored 22 points last week. We kind of made fun of him a little bit.
Yeah.
Turned around and scored 90 points this week, which means the Cowboys had a good week.
Yeah, Felix Jones had a good week.
Yeah, Felix Jones had a good week, those guys, which also makes me mad because, so you know, Ryan, I picked the Giants for my Survivor pick this week. It was down to the final 4, and I got knocked out of Survivor this week because I picked against your Cowboys. And another real quick congratulations to our film person back there, Jess LaRiviere. She is in the final 2 of Survivor. He's down to some guy I don't know from Minnesota, I think. And Jess, so we're all cheering for Jess in here.
And to talk about Survivor for just a second, I'm amazed that 10 weeks in, there's only 2 people
out
left.
of 60-something people.
I've never seen a Survivor get that many people get knocked out that fast.
Yeah. Real quick too, Kevin, 5-game losing streak. You need to get that one together. He told me on the phone. I was trying to make some trades with him. He said my team's set because I'm lined up for a great playoff run. He thinks the injuries is why he's lost those 5, but 5 straight. Amy Lynn lost her 5th straight. We got 2 5-game losing streaks going on, and Julia, that was her 4th straight heartbreaking loss.
Yeah.
So we got some long losing
And
streaks
what
going.
stinks for Amy and Julia specifically is that probably puts them on the very, very outside of making the playoffs now because we got 3 games left. There's a lot of teams that are 4 and 6 that have a chance of making that last playoff spot. I mean, it's the last playoff spot right now is a 4, 5, and 1.
Yep.
Which I think is whoever tied Farley.
Yeah.
Ryan Newton is right on the edge there. So that spot is still wide open. But when you're all the way down there, you got your 3 and 7, Julia, and Amy's only 2 and 8. You're in a tough spot to try to make that last playoff spot. So 3 weeks left. It could change quite a bit.
Yep. Good luck. Congrats again to Alex and Zach for your 126. I sported my Austin, Texas, Home of the Longhorns shirt today just in honor of our Austin guys out there for your big week performance this week. Also, on a total side note, before we get out of here, there is a phenomenal poll question on the UW Interns website right now. I would encourage all of you guys to get on that. Check it out. We got some good, healthy debate going on, a little competition in the office. Go to the UWInterns.com, check out the poll, and vote for who you think UW's fastest staff member is in a 100-meter dash. Check it out. And we'll see you guys next week. You guys have a good Thanksgiving. And don't forget, there are games again, this week.
Yep.
And on
The
Thursday
Thursday
night
game,
game
yep.
again.
That
And
Thursday
I guess
lineup.
Thanksgiving's 2 weeks away. So premature. But I really want you to have a good Thanksgiving too. But there is a game on Thursday. Get your lineup set, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
All right, see you later.